All right, guys, we're going to get rocking and rolling here soon. We have a busy show. A lot of stuff going on. And far from sleepy Charlottesville, Virginia. Mayor Snook has released comments to our network on the recent spate of gun and gun violence in and around Charlottesville. And he has a unique perspective to offer because he's also a criminal defense attorney. So not only does he have the perspective of the mayor of Charlottesville, but he has the perspective of a criminal defense attorney, decades of serving the area as a criminal defense attorney. So I think his perspective is certainly appreciated and quite valuable. We'll also talk Matthew Haas, the good, I don't know if you call him the good doctor, the superintendent of Albemarle County Public Schools, in the news yet again. And he's in the news for reasons we have been hammering on this program. And this time it's school resource officers, and finally Dr. Haas says, get them back in the schools. We'll talk about that on today's show. Real estate assessments or reassessments have been done in Albemarle County, and I'll cut to the chase. You have less money in your pocket now. If you live in Albemarle County, you will have less money in your pocket now, thanks to real estate assessments. We'll talk about that on today's talk show. It is more expensive than ever before to live in Albemarle County. People talking about housing affordability that are elected officials, come on. Phrases and terminology used to win elections. Leave it at that. We'll also talk on today's show Keith Woodard and Woodard Properties owning a lot of Cherry Avenue. Today's show is jam-packed with news, including the Paramount Theater on the downtown mall now showing UVA men's and women's basketball games. Judah Wickower, we have a lot to cover. Do we not have a lot to cover?
No doubt.
I mean, we are super busy. Give the show a like and a share. Carol Thorpe, thank you. Thank you, Carol Thorpe, for sending me this DM. I'm responding to you right now. All right, J-Dubs, give me 10 seconds and we can lock, drop, and hop. All right, J-Dubs, I can rock and roll.
Quiet on the set.
Good Thursday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller. Welcome to the I Love CVille show. Thank you kindly for joining us. Good to be with you. We're live on all social media platforms from our studio in downtown Charlottesville. It's good to connect with you through our network today. We're presented by Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. Who's got your Mac? Dr. Wagner has your back. Scott Wagner Integrated Medicine. Mayor Snook offers comments to the I Love CVille network on the recent gang and gun violence. We will read those comments verbatim from the mayor of Charlottesville, Virginia, who has unique perspective to offer on gang and gun violence, considering he is a defense attorney. So he has the lens and the viewpoint of an attorney, an esquire, a defense attorney, who's got a strong reputation in this town with what he does professionally, and also as the leader, the mayor of Charlottesville. Those comments coming up to you in about 90 seconds. Also on today's show, Dr. Matthew Haas, the embattled superintendent of Albemarle County Public Schools. And I think if I was using a one word to describe Dr. Matthew Haas, the superintendent of Albemarle County Public Schools, that word would be embattled. I'm going to ask you, Judah Wickower, that question. You're the director of the show. People count on you as a local celebrity and a local pundit for your perspective. I thought I'd get a reaction from you from that. If you had one word for Dr. Matthew Haas, and you don't have to give it to me now, you can keep it on a one-shot. What would be the one word you would utilize to describe the superintendent of Albemarle County Public Schools? My word is embattled. He is in the Daily Progress today saying, hey, I think we made a mistake, and it's time to get the school resource officers, the police, back in the school. And we're going to start with Albemarle High School, our largest and most diverse school in Albemarle County. So now you got the embattled superintendent telling legacy and traditional media that, hey, we made a mistake, and it's time to get the police back in the hallways. We'll talk about that on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've watched this program over the course of the last year, you know that yours truly has championed school resource officers back in the hallways. And today, the top person, the person atop the totem pole for ACPS is saying we made a mistake and it's time to get the police back in the hallways. We'll talk about that on today's program. We'll have reaction on Judy Lee, the school board member, reaction on Dr. Haas, and parent thoughts on today's program. I also want to talk a topic from yesterday that we did not get to. What has the greatest impact on local land? On land in Albemarle County and Charlottesville City. I'll give you three options. Option number one, what will have the greatest impact on local land? Upzoning in the city of Charlottesville. City of Charlottesville is widely expected to allow, to permit upzoning, basically allowing density to be more fluid and more realistic and easier to transpire. Housing stock, more of it in Charlottesville City. That's what upzoning is. That's option one. Option two is UVA buying land. We know UVA is the largest landowner in Charlottesville City and Albemarle County. And then option three is expanding the developmental area in Albemarle County. Which of those three has or will have the greatest impact on local land in Charlottesville City and Albemarle County? And we'll talk Keith Woodard owning much of Cherry Avenue on today's show, and the Paramount Theater on the downtown mall showing UVA women's and men's basketball games, an idea that I've been championing for 2 years on this program. Utilizing the Paramount Theater on nights where it does not have events to take Tony Bennett and the men's basketball game and put them on a big screen, offer it for free to the public, and get families to come to the downtown mall. That is a win-win scenario for everyone downtown. Everyone. And certainly and undoubtedly will impact the brand of the downtown mall, a brand that currently is probably missing. The brand of downtown, and why don't we go to the two-shot, Judah, and welcome you to the program. Make sure mics are on, two shots are working. In an ideal scenario, and first, good afternoon, my friend.
Hello.
In an ideal scenario, the brand of the downtown mall, if you had to have one word, that brand should be family.
It should be?
Should be. The brand should be safe, family, fun. If you wanted a brand for the downtown mall and you needed a tagline, John Blair asked us that question. What is the brand of the downtown mall? I don't think there is one right now, but I think what it should be is safe, family, fun, the tagline.
Okay.
That's what I think it should be. And the Paramount hosting UVA men's and women's basketball games and showing them on the big screen at the Paramount Theater, offering it free to the public, and making some money on concession sales, it's brilliant. And it embodies the safe, family, fun that the tagline should be for downtown Charlottesville. If you're Friends of Charlottesville, if you're Alan Kajin, if you're Ludwig Kutner, if you're Wilson Ritchie, if you're Andy McClure, Ivan Rekosh, if you're Charlottesville City Council, if you're Michael Kochis, City Hall, that's the tagline that you want for downtown Charlottesville. Safe, family, fun.
Okay.
That's what it should be. Okay? All right, let's get to Lloyd Snook's comments. I have a lot of respect for Mayor Lloyd Snook.
Yeah, definitely.
Not only friend of the program, his law firm, 30 feet from our studio, I see him almost every day, Mayor Snook. He leaves, sends this comment to the I Love Seville network 41 minutes ago. We have been talking on this show all week long that Mayor Snook should be getting ahead of this story, and he leaves this comment on the murder in Belmont, the gunfight in Belmont that had, frankly speaking, out-of-towners in a gun battle
Yeah.
outside restaurants and a tire shop in a Tony, prestigious, and expensive neighborhood. So Mayor Snook says this to the network. Speaking as a criminal defense attorney and close-up observer of the local crime scene, and not because my position as city councilor has given me access to any special knowledge, he says there has been an upswing in local gang activity for the last 15 or 20 years, and a series of state and federal prosecutions knocked those groups back or out. He says about a decade ago, some out-of-town groups tried to recruit some local wannabes. More prosecutions, more people sent to jail, that kind of activity abated for a while. Lloyd Snook says in the last year or two, we seem to be seeing more out-of-town groups trying to get involved in our local crime scene. Lloyd Snook says, again, not based on any inside info, if we have people from Texas and Maryland shooting at one another in Belmont, we have to be concerned about outside gangs trying to move into Charlottesville. It will certainly be a priority for the new police chief starting Tuesday. It may, as it did before, require the participation of federal prosecutors and federal law enforcement. I appreciate that comment. He's coming at it as just a person, as an attorney, and not as the mayor. And he, like all of us, shares the concern that these are out-of-town people in a gun battle in downtown Belmont.
Yeah.
And the question I have, again, is gang activity in the area. What is the motive or the momentum or the driving factor behind that gang activity? And Judah and I asked this question sometime this week. Are you more worried that the gang activity is out-of-town gangbangers? Or would you be more worried that it's in-town gangbangers? What is more frightening to you? Out-of-towners fighting for turf, or trying to kill people,
We don't know that they're fighting for turf.
or
what-
in-towners
Yeah.
fighting for turf or trying to kill people? We do know they were trying to kill people. When you're shooting guns at people, you're trying to kill somebody.
That's usually how it goes.
Usually how it goes. What worries you the most? We were both in agreement it was out-of-towners that worried us the most.
Yeah.
Because the out-of-towners don't have connections with positive people locally, where those positive people locally could potentially change the nefarious or felonious behavior into a better outcome.
I'm not sure I follow that, but my issue is that with people in town, I think it's more likely that the police know about them and are at least keeping an eye on them and their activities. Whereas with out-of-towners, and this is why I think it's foolish to hire people to stand around, hire officers or whatever you want to call them, to stand around
Ambassadors.
Belmont, because out-of-towners are, I believe their actions are going to be fairly random to us, because how did they end up in Belmont?
Right, we don't know.
It was probably completely random. It may have been that they drove by someone that they recognized. Whatever the reason, it has far less to do, I think, with neighborhoods, whereas with people who are from in town, they would largely be acting in and around, particular neighborhoods.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with everything you said.
Out-of-towners, there's an element of randomness that is, I think, probably impossible to
Predict or police or patrol. I 100% agree with everything you just said right there. And that's why the out-of-towners make me nervous the most, because of the unpredictable nature of their actions. That's what you're saying. 100% agree with what you're saying. 100% agree. Snook, in his comments, specifically mentions the police chief, Kachis, who starts early next week.
Yeah, and he also brings up the fact that this is a cyclically recurring event of having gangs start causing trouble, and I don't know, trying to take over ground or whatever you want to call it, and that every time it's happened, they've shut it down, and I'm sure they'll do the same this time.
Is it fair to say Kochis on Monday or Tuesday should straight up, John Blair, we'll get to your comments, Dave Riddick, we'll get to your comments. Kochis on Tuesday, or Monday or Tuesday, whenever he takes the job his first day, should straight up have a presser, should straight up welcome the media, should straight out, I mean, we're reaching and talking with folks inside the police community of lining up an interview with Kochis, but is it safe to say he should straight up acknowledge what's happening in a press conference? Here's what we're seeing, here's the path to correction, here's how we're going to police it, this is what our hope is from the community. We want folks, as we've already identified this week on the show, this is going to take folks all over the supply chain of safety to keep this violence from escalating. Nonprofits, teachers, police, landlords, community stakeholders, elected officials, town employees, city employees. It's going to take everyone to correct this. My take is Kochis from day one, as the press conference, gets ahead of this and identifies that we have a problem and says, I'm aware of it and I'm going to work to fix it.
Yeah, I would be surprised if he didn't. But who knows? And hopefully he will, and he will, assuage the fears of, people who are worried that this is, that this is something big.
We'll follow this closely. We appreciate Mayor Snook's comments. David Riddick, we'll get to your comments on school resource officers shortly. John Blair, we'll get to your comment on the move by the Paramount to show UVA men's and women's basketball games on the downtown mall. John Blair says free events for families send a positive, inclusive message to the entire city. John Blair, well said. I mentioned this live on air moments ago. Downtown Mall's tagline, safe family fun. If you do safe family fun first, you will fill in the blanks for downtown during the daylight hours and the early evening hours.
What do you mean fill in the blanks?
Soft spots for downtown are like afternoon and early evening, when it's too early for people to go on date night into dinners, and it's too early for the bar crowd, and it's too early for the nightlife music crowd. So if you can get safe family fun happening, you'll fill downtown in the morning, you'll fill downtown at lunchtime, you'll fill downtown in the afternoons when it's not really that busy. The nightlife is going to follow because you have such a large aggregation of bars in one strip. The nightlife is going to be there. How downtown is going to gain buzz and notoriety and incremental revenue and lasting power and stay open is to get kids and moms and dads spending its money there. The booze scene's going to follow, the music scene's going to follow, the hookup scene's going to follow downtown. But if you can get mommy and you can get daddy and you can get little Johnny and little Susie downtown, then you're going to have incremental revenue, and incremental revenue, sales revenue, means lasting power, and it means zero vacancies. Safe family fun. But I want to get to another topic. I want to get to school resource officers. This one's huge, okay? We have a school board meeting tonight. Albemarle County School Board meeting tonight. We have Alice Berry of the Daily Progress for back-to-back days writing strong articles in the Daily Progress, the paper of record. Yesterday, it was parents speaking on the record at Judy Lee of the school board in a meeting that she hosted to get feedback from constituents. And those parents yesterday said, bathrooms are dangerous, there's alleged sexual misconduct, alleged sexual assaults, there's alleged violence, drug use, vaping, and it's the Wild West at Albemarle High School. That's what parents said, and Judy Lee, the school board members meeting earlier this week, and it was reported yesterday in the Daily Progress. Today in the Daily Progress, Alice Berry, the reporter, again has another story, and this one quoting Matthew Haas. I'm going to ask for that one word that you have that comes to mind that describes Dr. Haas. My word is embattled. In today's newspaper, Dr. Haas is being quoted as saying, I'm going to ask the school board members to get the school resource officers, the police, back in the hallway at Almora High School to keep this misconduct from happening or to change it. I want to say this, and then I'm going to go to you. I, and you have as well, have been all over school resource officers back in the hallways for almost a year now. It's been a topic that's weekly, if not daily, on this show. Get them back in the hallways. Return a sense of order to the schools. And a tryout that lasted 2.5 years or so is backfired and has been a failure. And now the superintendent has to, with his head down and his feet kind of pushing at the dirt in front of him, bashfully ask the school board members to get him back. And everyone on the decision chain has accountability. School board members, Dr. Haas, Dr. Haas's cabinet, everyone has accountability and culpability here of removing the school resource officers. One word that describes Haas to you, and then your take on this topic, Judah Wickower.
I mean, I don't think I could do better than embattled, but if I had to pick one, maybe searching. I don't know.
Searching?
I don't know. Yeah, he's looking for. He's obviously trying to figure this whole thing out.
Searching? Searching is not an adjective. All right. Well, I don't want to get into the weeds on this. Searching is a verb.
I don't care.
Embattled is an adjective.
You asked me for a word, and that's what I've got right now. So, yeah. I mean, the SRO is the officer is quite a ways away, I would imagine, because they're not going to have the vote on adding a single that single SRO until spring, which is roughly at least 3 months away.
I mean, at least it's this school year. He's still got to get school board approval to do it. He can't just make the call on himself. And the frustrating aspect is we've seen the flip book of the embattled superintendent. Because about a month ago, the embattled superintendent was putting the onus on principals of the schools. And the embattled superintendent said, if you want the school resource officers, principals of the schools, it's up to you to ask for them. Now what's happened is the voters and the citizens and the parents and the people that are really freaking worried, my wife and I, you, the viewer and listener, are saying this process is entirely too slow. And the natives are getting restless. And we are utilizing the power of collective voice. Power of collective voice to utilize, to leverage, to get school resource officers back in the schools and to make administrators move into action. And that's what's happened this week. Judy Lee hosted a meeting and people were pissed. And Judy Lee went into this meeting, the school board member, and she wanted to host this meeting because she wanted to get some face time and some brand recognition for a potential political push of higher office. And Judy Lee, who hosted a meeting with constituents because she wanted to basically assess the temperature of voters in her district, that push or that meeting backfired on her. And in that meeting, which she probably anticipated it to go positive or as a forum or platform for her to get the word out about a potential political push upward, instead, parents got pissed. And parents said the schools are a nightmare. Sex, drugs, violence, assault. And because of that, the temperature escalated for the embattled superintendent. And the embattled superintendent, who is very much a politician. And if someone does not think Dr. Matthew Haas is a politician, then you're not reading the tea leaves. This dude is a politician. He's reading energy, he's reading popularity, he's reading the narrative, he's determining where the room is leaning one way or the other. And Dr. Matthew Haas, with us leading the charge on this network, with you and me leading the charge on this network, realizes that the temperature in this community and the mood in this community has freaking changed. And the mood in this community some 18 months ago was way more progressive. And 24 months ago, that progressive mood said no school resource officers. That progressive mood was more focused or perhaps distracted by the pandemic, more focused or distracted by curriculum, more focused or distracted by topics associated with transgender hospitality in classrooms and hallways. And folks can be progressive in mindset until it starts impacting their pocketbook and the quality of life in their home. And right now, the mindset's changed. And Dr. Haas, the embattled superintendent, his mood and mindset have changed because he sways as the wind sways and as popular opinion sways. That's what's happened. And we have the gumption and the fortitude to call it out. No-brainer, starting with Albemarle High School, the largest school with the most danger and the most diverse population. You disagree?
No. One thing I did like about the article was the fact that they're looking into, I believe the SRO will be under the school's control. I don't fully understand the terminology. But basically, rather than just having someone sent to the school will, the school division would have more oversight over a new school resource officer, if one is approved, than it did in the past. Previously, officers were employees of the Albemarle County Police Department, and the school division had limited authority over them. I think to my mind, that's hopefully a good way of going about things. The SRO will be more integrated with the school and the hierarchy in the school, so that they take their orders, I guess, and report to principal or whoever.
David Riddick, a teacher on LinkedIn, leaves this comment on our LinkedIn live stream. Jerry, will the SROs actually be Albemarle County Police Department officers? Will they be acting as police officers while on campus? Or will they be acting under the control of Albemarle County Public School Authority? Great questions.
Yeah.
Great questions.
And it sounds like the school will have more oversight over these officers, this officer.
I find that concerning. The school is not in the police business. The school should not have oversight over these officers. The school should not be managing officer production or action. It should be an independent third party.
But there have been concerns brought up about
Of targeting students of color, black and brown students with disability.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to reference, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. And that's a concern we all should be after.
And I believe that's probably a large part of the reason that they
were pulled in the first place.
Yeah.
100%. Especially in a progressive community like Albemarle. 100%, that's why they were pulled in the first place. Because certain data points suggest school resource officers, whether consciously or subconsciously, target students of color or students with disability.
Yeah.
And the public school to prison pipeline moniker was coined because of those either subconscious or conscious actions. Yeah. And I undoubtedly agree we have to watch closely to make sure that school resource officers are not targeting minority students or students with disability. 100% agree we should watch and make sure that happens.
I think we also need to understand that school resource officers aren't they're not the final and total answer to issues in the schools.
Definitely not.
A big part of the problem, I think, is is having the authority, and I don't mean the officers. I mean somebody having the authority to do something. Because you can't just slap people. You can't just slap kids on the wrist, send them back to their class, and expect them to change their behaviors.
No.
If you're not punishing students for poor behavior, then nothing is going to change. One school resource officer may be able to hold things down in one area of the school, but if kids are going to look for ways to do, if kids are finding ways to do something wrong, they're just going to find somewhere else to do it.
100%. 100%. Tom Stargill watching the program. Tom Stargill is a retired teacher from Albemarle County Schools, and he says SROs are terrific, but that does not address the woke principles and practices installed by Dr. Matthew Haas that are causing these problems at Albemarle High School and other schools. He is installing someone who he can blame, scapegoats. I want to highlight something that I've noticed with Matthew Haas. Carol Thorpe, the Queen of Jack Jewett, leaves this comment. Now Dr. Haas is putting all of the onus on the school board. Dude is trying to be Teflon. I want to bring this common theme up with Dr. Haas, the embattled superintendent. When the SOL scores were low, in particular for black and brown students, Dr. Matthew Haas, his choice or his decision or his plan of attack for remedying low test scores for black and brown students in Albemarle County Public Schools was to hire a third-party consultant. Dr. Matthew Haas, the embattled superintendent, his first plan of attack to handle poor SOL scores was pay a consultant group to fix the problem or to offer some perspective. Today, Dr. Matthew Haas is putting the priority or the decision-making or the responsibility on the shoulders of the school board members to return the school resource officers to the hallways. I have routinely seen the embattled superintendent pass the buck and continue to ask other people to make critical decisions for him for the sole purpose of insulating Dr. Haas himself from accountability and responsibility and culpability.
Is that something that he could unilaterally do himself?
He could undoubtedly unilaterally come up with a remedy for SOL piss-poor performance.
No, I meant voting.
Well, he asked the principals of the school to voice their opinions on the school resource officer a couple weeks ago. I can certainly think that Dr. Matthew Haas at tonight's school board meeting can tell the school board members, we need to get them back into the school right now. I am saying this to do it. Right now, he's asking if the school board members think it's a good idea that the school resource officers come back. He's utilizing a Teflon technique undoubtedly.
Okay.
And that should aggravate you, viewers and listeners, and parents. Lisa Costello says the school resource officer was the one who followed my autistic son each time he ran off from school. The teachers could not leave 24 kids in the classroom to chase my son, but the school resource officer was able to do it. So she's championing the school resource officer there and what the school resource officer did for her autistic son. And two other things that jumped out at me from that story in the newspaper. Two other things. Advice to Judy Lee. And I mentioned this yesterday. School board member Judy Lee, you declined to comment in the article. That's not a good look for you if you're choosing to pursue higher office. You're going to have to answer these difficult questions. And declining to comment on school safety and school resource officers and parental involvement is not a good look. Second aspect of this story that needs to be highlighted. Friend of the program, Carol Thorpe, Queen of Jack Jewett, sends us a Facebook call to action that was published earlier today. And that Facebook call to action was from the Facebook group called Hate Free Schools Coalition of Albemarle County. And this group published a call to action about 1 hour ago. And the call to action says, get out to the school board meeting tonight with signs and with banners that read, quote, keep cops out of schools. Speak to the school board, comment, sign up, email the school board, email Dr. Haas. You see the divide happening over this topic. I've said on this show for 1 year that 4 school board spots in November's election will be determined by these topics. Topic number 1, bus drivers and getting kids to and from school on time. Topic number 2, the transgender topic and the hospitality or the varying degree of hospitality with students who are pursuing transgender lifestyle. Topic number 3, school resource officers. And topic number 4, unionizing teachers or collective bargaining. Those 4 topics will determine the school board races, 4 of them that are up for grabs in November.
We'll see.
And my crystal ball is again proving to be accurate. Tonight's school board meeting is going to be school resource officer centered, and you're going to be seeing people in the stands that have banners that are literally saying keep cops out of school, as this Facebook group, who has 1,200 members in Albemarle County, is issuing a call to action to. That's a lot of people. You want to add anything to this before we get to Albemarle County real estate assessments?
No.
Do you agree that the superintendent's office does not look great right now?
I agree that none of them look great right now. And it doesn't have anything to do with being wishy-washy. It has everything to do with not being authoritative.
Being authoritative and wishy-washy are the same. Not being wishy-washy are the same thing.
No. One of them refers to, the board voted out the SROs 2.5 years ago.
The board
correct?
voted out the SROs based on counsel from the superintendent.
Yeah.
The superintendent told the board to vote out the SROs.
Yeah. So my issue is that the schools have seemingly devolved to just, basically chaos, it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like.
I don't think...
Did you read the Crozet Gazette article? In the Crozet Gazette article, Paulie G., the Albemarle County Public Schools spokesman, said the Crozet Gazette article was based on hearsay and hyperbole and BS.
Who said that?
Paulie G., the Albemarle County Public Schools spokesman. He said Crozet Gazette article that basically described Albemarle High School as Michelle Pfeiffer's Dangerous Minds. Just get Coolio singing the soundtrack as you walk into the high school. Gangster's Paradise. Paula G. says, no, the author of the Crozet Gazette article lied and stretched and hyperbolized and based the article on hearsay. Well, we had Bill Mooncachi on the show, who taught in Albemarle High School. And one thing I can say about Bill Mooncachi, the 12-year public school teaching veteran, he doesn't strike me as someone that is going to hyperbolize or exaggerate stories that happen in his classroom or in his hallways. You agree with that? Yeah. That dude was a straight shooter. Would you not agree with that?
Definitely.
Yeah, we've spent 2.5, 3 hours with him on this talk show. And he said the Crozet Gazette article was on point. So you literally have the high school in Albemarle, the largest one, being utilized as a political pawn. If there was one aspect of Albemarle County right now, all right, I won't even say one. If there were 5 aspects or 5 areas of Albemarle County right now that had the most political landmines, Albemarle High School would be in the top 5. Right there with the 5% of Albemarle County designated to growth, commercial and residential. That's another one. Another one we're about to highlight is reassessments. Did you see the reassessment story?
Yeah.
You live in Albemarle County, right? What district
do.
are you in, dude? You
I
should know your district.
know where I vote.
What district? Where do you vote?
I vote
What voting district are you in?
K-Tech.
What's that?
K-Tech.
What voting district is that?
I don't know.
What supervisor do you vote for?
I don't know.
That's frustrating.
Okay.
You do not know what Albemarle County supervisor you vote for. That right
let's
there is a
see.
microcosm of apathy in this community. Well-read, intelligent, connected guy who owns a house in Albemarle County, who is a fixture on a talk show, does not know the supervisor he votes for. That frustrates me. And I'm going to leave it alone so I don't embarrass you. That frustrates the hell out of me. I did not realize that. Please look online for what district you live in.
All right.
I would imagine it's the Rio district.
Probably.
I would imagine it's the Rio district, which means Ned Galloway is your supervisor.
That makes
But we
sense.
should confirm. Ned Galloway's been on the talk network multiple times.
I know.
Reassessments are happening right now in Albemarle County. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you will have less money in your pocket this year. When your tax bill comes due for your home in Albemarle County in early June and early December, you will be paying, on average, roughly 13% more in taxes this year.
Mm-hmm.
The Rio District, with reassessments that have now finished, the Rio District will jump 14%. Jack Jewett will jump 14.23%. The Rivanna District jumps the most, 15.64%. Samuel Miller District, 11.49% assessments jump. And my district, the Scottsville District, 13.52%. Whitehall District, 12.3%. The town of Scottsville, 11.29%. Double-digit jumps on assessments this year. This is a bill you pay in June and December. Now, the next thing we should be watching is the real estate tax rate. Will the Board of Supervisors keep the real estate tax rate the same? Will they raise the real estate tax rate, or will they lower the real estate tax rate? If they lower the real estate tax rate, they acknowledge the jump on assessments is a lot. You get taxed twice on your house. You get taxed on the assessment, and you get taxed on the real estate tax rate. On average, Albemarle County has a 13% jump on its assessments. That is significant. And why it's significant is because gasoline's expensive now, groceries are expensive now, your personal property is expensive now. Everything's more expensive now. Real estate assessments jumping 13% on average are how folks that are retired that live on a fixed budget get gentrified out of communities. Real estate assessments jumping 13% are how folks that are out of work get gentrified out of communities. And frankly speaking, real estate assessments jumping 13% on average in Albemarle County are how folks with good jobs get gentrified out of communities. 13%. Follow the supervisors and see what they do with the tax rate. And if you want to vote a supervisor into office like yours truly, that is mindful of this, that would do a tax rate, that would push to drop the tax rate to help offset the assessments, then start voting that way, please. Because that's what I would do. And that's what you've seen other jurisdictions do. Lower the tax rate to help offset the increase of the assessment. Are you Rio District?
I believe so.
You got to vote.
I do.
Okay. $115. Do you want to hit the Paramount showing the UVA games? Keith Woodard's company owning much of Cherry Avenue? or the greatest impact on local land? Upzoning in Charlottesville City, UVA buying more property, or Albemarle County expanding the developmental area? You can pick the next topic, one of those three.
I don't know. Paramount showing UVA hoops games? Is that all they'd show?
No, they show movies and they have
I
live
know that.
events.
I don't mean movies. I mean,
They showed the World Cup. They show NFL playoffs.
are you being obtuse? I'm talking
What do
about
you mean
UVA.
am I being
Would it
obtuse?
just
You asked the question
would
and
it
I
just be
answered it.
hoops games, or would it be other UVA games?
They're showing UVA men's and women's basketball games at the Paramount.
Okay. Are they going to show other UVA games, or is it just basketball games?
They showed football in the fall.
Okay.
They made it free so people could come with their families for a positive event to have fun, safe and family-safe fun activities on the downtown mall.
All right.
Safe family fun. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. They have all the infrastructure in place to project this. They do it on a night where they don't have shows, and they make incremental revenue on concession sales. Great idea. Moms and dads can bring their kids downtown. They will perhaps have lunch or get dessert at one of the merchants on the downtown mall and show a positive perception for downtown Charlottesville in the slowest month of the year, January. It's a great idea. Absolutely love it. That's the kind of stuff that needs to happen downtown. And John Blair, you've been asking what the brand for downtown Charlottesville should be. Safe family fun should be the mission for downtown Charlottesville in any kind of branding campaigns. Safe family fun. Friends of Seville. Friends of Seville, I'm talking to you. Safe family fun. I want to highlight how much property Keith Woodard of Woodard Properties owns on Cherry Avenue. It's no secret that Cherry Avenue is the most underperforming corridor in Charlottesville City. I think you can make a legitimate argument for two corridors in Charlottesville City is the most underperforming. The first corridor is Cherry Avenue, and it's from Tonsler Park to the UVA Hospital. That strip has a boatload of traffic, and it's big time underperforming. Another underperforming corridor is High Street, and it's underperforming from, say, Lexington Avenue all the way to Freebridge and Costner Brothers. And there's a common denominator with Cherry Avenue, and there's a common denominator with High Street. The common denominator on Cherry Avenue is Keith Woodard, and Woodard Properties owns a lot of the commercial real estate on Cherry Avenue. The common denominator on High Street is Mr. Costner of Costner Brothers and his family own much of the commercial property on High Street. So you have two vastly underperforming strips of commerce and of real estate. High Street and Cherry Avenue. High Street's controlled by one family, the Costners. Cherry Avenue controlled by another family, the Woodards. Those two legitimately your most underperforming strips of real estate in a 10.2 square mile city. Sean Tubbs puts this in perspective in a CVO Weekly article. Sean Tubbs, you're doing a great job. This is what Sean Tubbs writes. The commercial section of Cherry Avenue also has two notable purchases, both tied to Woodard Properties. In August, a company associated with Woodard Properties paid $3.5 million for the former IGA grocery store across from Tonsler Park. In November, another Woodard LLC bought an undeveloped 0.25 acre lot at 716 Cherry Avenue. In 2021, Woodard Properties purchased both the Cherry Avenue Shopping Center and a nearby vacant lot. In addition, Woodard Properties purchased holdings between 7.5 Street and 5th Street. Anthony Woodard and his father Keith Woodard of Woodard Properties also developed the footpath or the trail off of Cherry Avenue. I see Woodard Properties moving at a more tangible and significant level of momentum when it comes to redevelopment on Cherry Avenue than what the Cosner family is going to do on High Street. I think Cherry Avenue is going to be developed at a faster and more significant clip than High Street. Cherry Avenue has extremely close proximity to the downtown mall, to Midtown, and to UVA. Cherry Avenue has a developer with deep pockets that has institutional knowledge and has a reputation to respect and to keep protected in Central Virginia and Albemarle and Charlottesville, and that's Woodard. He owns a lot of Cherry Avenue. He's going to, of anyone, determine the future of that strip. And if anyone thinks the future of Cherry Avenue is going to be some payday loan businesses, or some cell phone companies, or some vacant lots, or a home to a subcontractor that works at UVA, you're not in touch with reality. Cherry Avenue is going to look like, what do you think it looks most like?
I mean, I think it'll look like businesses. I think it'll look like I think from what I read, they're talking about having a mix of businesses and residential.
I think it's going to look like downtown Belmont, but more commercial business centric. Cherry Avenue is going to look like downtown Belmont with more density on business side. You're going to have residential right off Cherry Avenue, but it's going to be businesses with residential right behind it. That's what I think it's going to look like. You think of any other areas of Charlottesville City that are more underperforming than High Street or Cherry?
No, not really.
Those are the top two.
Yeah.
I've stuck with that the entire time on this show. Tom Stargell says this: Dr. Haas is insulated because the school board has unanimously totally given them their blessings and totally insulated Haas from any discussion that his policies are highly questionable or just plain wrong. Haas and the board totally share a bed. That's what Stargell says, the retired teacher. Are you going to offer a take on which entity or which phenomenon has the greater impact on local land? Albemarle County expanding the development area, UVA buying property, or City of Charlottesville upzoning?
Which has the greater impact on local land? I mean, the upzoning is still to come, right?
Upzoning is expected in June of this year before. Certainly Neil Williamson thinks that. He's got a bet with Keith Smith. So you got 3 picks, 1 to choose from.
I mean, I would say UVA just because they're actively buying up land currently.
You say University of Virginia. For what reason?
Because they're...
I mean, the number one reason you should be saying if you pick UVA is anytime UVA buys the land, it takes it off the tax roll. So when UVA buys property, the jurisdiction has less money to utilize for its budget because the University of Virginia is putting it in a nonprofit ownership umbrella. And when that nonprofit ownership umbrella owns the real estate, the local jurisdiction doesn't get the tax rolls from it.
Yeah.
That should be your number one reason why you pick UVA. UVA is a good one. I think Albemarle County expanding the developmental area, however, would have the greatest impact on land in Albemarle and Charlottesville City. Albemarle County only has 5% of its land allocated for development, residential and commercial. Only 5%. And many people that are stakeholders have said we're at capacity with the 5% because the land that's still vacant does not have the topography to develop. It's undevelopable, a lot of people would say. So expanding the developmental area in Albemarle County, say you go from 5% to 10%, would potentially 2x development in Albemarle. And Albemarle's got land to expand. City of Charlottesville's 10.2 square miles and it's landlocked. It's got nowhere to go. Anonymous, the I Love CVille Network's version of Deep Throat, says this on the topic of what regulatory loosening would have the greatest impact. He says, I think expanding the development area in the county would be the biggest, but I want to point out that probably none of them will have a huge impact. Both the city and county already generate housing at a very solid clip. 2022 through November, city permits running at 4.25 units per 1,000 residents. County, 7.8 permits per 1,000 residents. Virginia as a whole, just 4.2 permits per 1,000 residents. He says a truly overregulated city like Palo Alto, California is at 0.5. 0.5 permits per 1,000. A wide open city like Houston is at 6.0 permits per 1,000. Lower than Albemarle. Wow, Albemarle 7.8. That's good data from that guy. Again, good data. According to Anonymous, 7.8 permits per 1,000 units. That's a lot. Huh. I didn't know that, Anonymous. I think voters come May of this year, when the June assessments come out for payment, people are going to freak the hell out.
No doubt.
They're going to freak out. Carol Thorpe says, put it this way, every Albemarle County homeowner's property taxes went up today at the current rate. The question is, will they go up a second time if they raise the rate in a few months? That's what we got to follow closely. Will Albemarle County's Board of Supervisors raise the real estate tax rate? Your assessments just jumped 13%, so you're already getting taxed more. Will you get taxed even more a second time come tax rate time? Vanessa Parkhill says, during inflationary times, the only one sure to come out ahead is the government. The cost of eggs goes up, that's higher tax revenue for the government. Cost value of your car goes up, higher tax revenue for the government. Wages go up, higher tax revenue for the government. Last time I checked, most folks were not getting a salary increase of 8% or higher to put them in the range of inflation. It's a good comment, Vanessa.
Yeah.
That's everybody,
Yeah.
literally. That's why the Fed is prioritizing a hawkish approach to inflation management, because the Fed and Jerome Powell realizes how potentially damaging and damning inflation, if it keeps at this clip, will do to the economy and be to the economy. Good comment. I read this live on air. Also, I want to correct something. Juan Sarmiento, are you watching? Juan Sarmiento, are you watching today's show? Please let me know if you're watching, sir. Juan Sarmiento is the lead fleet technician of Charlottesville Albemarle Transit. Juan was right yesterday. That donut kitchen is in the Food Lion Shopping Center on Pantops. I mistakenly identified it as the giant shopping center on Pantops on yesterday's show.
Did he say which spot it's in?
My wife even corrected me too after the show was over.
Is it in that corner spot that Subway used to be in?
I mean, that's what it looks like on the map, but you went there and you said you weren't sure what was there.
Are they open yet?
Yeah.
100%?
They're open.
What's it called? Donut Shack?
I think it's the Donut Kitchen.
Donut Kitchen.
Lisa Costello says, Jerry and Judah, this 180-degree turnout on school resource officers The mayor making a public statement on gang violence is an indication of the influence of the I Love CVille show in this community. Thank you for saying that. I think that's 100% correct. We understand the responsibility we have here with this talk show, with elected officials watching the program on a regular basis, issuing us comments prior to the show for us to read on air, and us, frankly, being the water cooler of conversation in a 300-person market. That's what we're trying to do here. I think Donut Connection is in that Food Lion shopping center.
It's definitely in the old Subway spot. But
That's what Juan said.
by the time I get to if I'm going to Food Lion, it's usually after work, so it's usually like 7:30.
Is that your grocery store?
Yeah.
That's the one you go to? Is that the closest one for you?
Yeah, it's on the way home and it's the closest to me.
Okay. Anything you want to add or close with? People like when you have closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. The Donut Kitchen should stay open at least one night a week, so I can try their donuts.
One night a week.
They're closed at 3.
That's challenging.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say
I'll have to try them on a Saturday or
I
Sunday.
wouldn't say demand is particularly high in the evening hours for donuts.
No, probably not. No, they're closed on Sunday, so that's out.
I mean, that's one of the challenges that's happening with the dairy market. Food stalls is the dairy market requires the tenants to be open set hours, no matter if there's customers or not.
Oof.
So even if it's slow on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like the slow days, the historically slow periods, they're still having to remain open, which is driving up their labor costs.
Yeah.
And making it difficult to manage, because if you own a business, you cut your labor and food service when there's no customers.
Yeah, but obviously Dairy Market doesn't want a bunch of empty,
Well,
closed-up shops.
They want when customers come to see the food hall with its full force energy behind it.
That also means that in some cases you probably have to cook a lot more food than you normally would have. In the case of some of the places, I think they have, like trays set out where, kind of like a food line where you tell them what you want and they put it in. It's not, it's not the type of business where they just cook something as soon as you ask for it, which means that,
There's a lot of food waste.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that as well. All right. You got some homework. Confirm for the viewers and listeners tomorrow which district you vote in.
I mean, do we think it would be anywhere other than Rio?
I don't want to assume. You shouldn't be able to say that with confidence and conviction. You should be able to say or know who the supervisor you're voting for with confidence and conviction. Especially if we're utilizing a platform to encourage people to vote in off years, which we are. I would imagine it's Galloway. I would really like to know that, though. Please, sir. Please, kindly, respectfully. Good job today, per usual, for you on the talk show. I do not think you should underestimate, and I know you don't, the influence of what we're doing here.
Okay.
All right. And Alice Berry, job well done with the Daily Progress. The back-to-back days that you've had with the Albemarle County Public School Beat, it's been admirable. Your work is legitimate journalism. Well done. Very well done. Judah Woodcower, Jerry Miller, the I Love CVille show on a Thursday. We're back tomorrow at 12:30. So long.
What's that? Okay.